Well, even this one, I mean, she dies of AIDS.
Who?
Nicole Kidman.
She didn't die of AIDS.
What'd she die of?
Consumption.
Of a bunch of dicks.
Damn it, you motherfucker! I wrote that joke down. You son of a bitch!
I lined it up and set it up. Woo! That was good.
I finally
Watched.
I finally
Watched.
I
finally
watched. I
finally
watched.
I finally
Watched.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of I Finally Watched. I'm Milan.
And this is David, and today I finally watched Moulin Rouge.
So, in debating how we were going to end musical month, there was a few musicals that were on the table, but kind of last second, taking place of Rent, I just thought that Moulin Rouge is a good way of ending musical month as like, I don't want to say this is like the ultimate musical, but it is very like high octane, like turn up to 11 sort of musical. Also referencing other different musicals. So I thought this would just be a really good way to end musical month. What were your first like initial thoughts?
I think I would have liked this a lot more if I had watched it when it came out. But I
Okay.
still liked it. I still thought it was pretty good. But I just think it hasn't aged like particularly well.
In what way?
I don't know, it just kind of looks a little old. And then one thing about this I noticed is that, some acting in the 90s is and Baz Luhrmann his movies are always like this, but the acting is very over the top,
Yeah.
and I think it's just something you got to get used to. I still think it's really good. I was I'm always concerned when you have famous people singing if they're actually doing the singing, and I guess Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman were doing the singing. I feel like there's probably some post-production work to make their voices great because they both sounded amazing. So
Are
maybe they
you
just
saying AI was used to
I don't
alter their voices?
no, I wasn't saying that. I would never say a thing like that, and I don't even think logistically that makes sense given the day and age. Maybe some auto tune. I don't know. I don't know what they could do back then. But I read up that they were the ones singing, and that made me a lot happier. I do think also though, like you hear a song and it's done in a different way, and I'm kind of like, oh, I like that song a lot. I want to hear Elton John sing your song. I don't want to hear whatever the hell this is that you're doing.
Right.
So that aspect of it is a little tough too. But I mean, overall, I liked it. I'm not sure. I don't know what expectations I had going into this because of my Baz Luhrmann experience. I think I've seen 3 of his movies. I really liked Australia, probably more than most people. I liked The Great Gatsby a lot, and it took me like 7 days to finish Elvis.
Isn't John Leguizamo in The Great Gatsby?
I don't remember. I don't
Is he?
remember.
But I bet he is not playing a French dwarf. So
He
that's a thing.
he is in Romeo and Juliet.
Oh,
I know
maybe
that.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
His Toulouse character is a very interesting character. Also, apparently, one of the only characters that's based on a real historical person. Everyone else is made up, which I thought was interesting. The songs in this movie remind me of like the Glee version of like when they mash up 2 different songs, like the Pitch Perfect kind of like we're going to take 2 songs that have like the same beat or the same tempo and like mash them together. So we get a lot of that during Moulin Rouge. But I think my favorite song is Like a Virgin. It's probably my favorite song in this movie.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a choice you could make. I think I liked Teen Spirit, which I was reading. Apparently, Courtney Love auditioned for the role of Satine,
Yes.
which, whenever you choose not to have her in a role, I think works out better for your movie. And because of that, she let them use Smells Like Teen Spirit. However, she then found out that Marilyn Manson was going to sing it, and I guess she has a blood feud with Marilyn Manson. And 6 days before the movie was to be released, she told them that they could not have the song if he sang it, which
Who was
I don't
Marilyn Manson supposed to play?
No, he was just supposed to sing it. He wasn't gonna be in it. They had a
Oh,
lot of people they had a lot of people, like, sing the songs
oh.
that weren't, actually in it. I don't like Marilyn Manson, but also just, like, another Courtney Love story that's just like, ugh, you're just always inserting yourself. Like,
I mean, I don't think Marilyn Manson's a great guy from the
I
stories
don't
I heard
either.
of him when I lived in LA. No, but the Like a Virgin song sung by Zidler and the Duke, I thought were so off-putting that it was like hilariously entertaining.
It was we have not done this movie, but this is a movie that you really like. Did you recognize what the Duke is from?
So Taylor and I both thought he was from Jumanji. We thought he was the no, but that's not who he ended up being.
The
Oh, he's in
sec
Mission Impossible too.
He's the guy that gets his finger clipped off.
That's right.
Which
Yeah.
is very interesting to have seen that before this, and I think that was released right before this,
Mission
or
Impossible
maybe
2
yeah, or was it
was
a year after?
released it was a year before.
So, seeing him do that role and then this, I think works, whereas if you see him do this role and then you're supposed to think he's this badass bad guy,
But he looks
where
so different.
he does, but I recognized him.
Mm,
And Baz has this thing where one, he loves to use Australian people in his movies,
mhm.
but also loves to have like an Australian bad guy. So that guy in this, Joel Edgerton in The Great Gatsby. I mean, Australia is full of Australians, so obviously the bad guy in that is Australian. And the bad guy in Australia actually looks quite a bit like the bad guy in this too, Richard
That's true.
Roxburgh. Yeah,
That's
they look
true.
very similar.
Richard Roxburgh was in Elvis.
Sorry, he had to do that.
He played Vernon Presley, which I guess that's the father of Elvis, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, so yeah, and he's like in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which no one liked, Sean Connery's last movie, and then Van Helsing, which is funny because I know those are like critically acclaimed, like destroyed movies, but I actually liked them when I was how old would I have been? 12, so that makes sense too. The way the movie starts out, I really thought you would either shut it off immediately and be like, I'm not watching this, Alon. You're gonna have to choose something else. Like I thought either the first hour was gonna annoy you, or you were absolutely gonna like fall in love with it and be like, all right, fuck it, I'm in.
I just think the first 30 minutes doesn't matter.
In like plot
Yeah,
way.
just in any
Yeah.
way, whatsoever. I mean, so you get that he's moved to France to be around the Moulin Rouge, to be in this world of debauchery. His dad doesn't want him to. He moves underneath these playwright guys or bohemian society, whatever they are. And then they're like, "Hey, we want you to write this play because he sings The Hills Have Eyes, or The Hills
Hills of Eyes.
Hills Are Alive." The hills have eyes. That's a good.
That's
Write
good
that down.
music. I
Let's
like
cut.
that.
Let's cut this. We're gonna keep that for something. No, but he sings "The Hills Are Alive," and then that doesn't lead to anything because the movie then becomes like this Indian Hindu thing. Like later on, so they don't even use this breakthrough that he comes up with.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that they always reference the Sound of Music. I mean, John Leguizamo is even dressed like a nun, and you think that that's what they're writing, but that's not what they're writing. And then when it has that, like, they're panicking, right? When they're pitching this to the Duke, they're panicking in Satine's room to try to like cover up this romance, and they're just making shit up, and they see like an Indian elephant statue, so they're like, it's set in India, and he loves her, but the sultan is very angry, whatever. And then it gets this Indian thing, and then they never bring it up again, but I'm pretty sure that that song is in the musical within a musical. We just never hear it.
Maybe that's very possible. We do get the absinthe scene, which only just reminded me of Eurotrip, except this had Kylie Minogue, and there's just like this fat guy who's like belching in Eurotrip. But apparently, originally, the Green Fairy was going to be a long haired muscle man with a giant sitar, and Ozzy Osbourne was going to be the vocals for it.
You took away my fun fact, my one and only fun fact.
Oh, sorry, had to do it.
Yeah.
It probably would have taken you 10 minutes to say it, but
Wow. Yeah, no, I just thought it was so funny because I knew about the Courtney Love thing and I knew about the Ozzy Osbourne thing, which I thought would just be so jarring.
the one important thing I think that the opening does is it establishes Zidler, played by Jim Broadbent, as like this evil, maniacal, controlling. He's like got Satine jailed in his Moulin Rouge and she can't get away from him. And then that's not the case at all. And I think it then gives you this sort of redemption arc for him, though,
Yeah.
which when you then look back on the movie, I was like, he's not really that bad of a guy. Like, he's got a little bit of like selfishness, but he's also got a business to run. So I kind of get it.
He's just a pimp in a material world and
But
he's just a material girl,
he
you know.
treats them pretty well, though, for a pimp. His pimp hand is strong, but fair. Also,
um
the whole time this movie's playing, it says Zidler has his diamond dogs, and I was like, "Where the fuck have I heard diamond dogs?" And then I think I realized it was Ted Lasso. He calls the group of like the guys that get together that talk the diamond dogs.
really? Is it a reference to the Moulin Rouge?
I don't know because I think no, because I think Diamond Dogs is also a Rolling Stone album.
Oh, that's funny, but also that makes sense. One of the things that I found funny is that we ended up not doing Rent. So backing up a little bit, could you tell me what all of the other five or the five musicals we've done this month all have in common? I can think of two main things that the majority of these musicals have in common.
Are they all Oscar nominated?
No?
Well, they might be though.
I mean, they might be, but that's not the two things that I have. The two things that I have is that every musical except for Little Shop of Horror has to do something with Paris and France, and at least a quick mention of it in at one point in the movie. And then, like I said, even Little Shop of Horror, I don't know at the end of your version if they show the plants taking over France, like an alien resurrection sort of thing, where it's like, oh, it's Paris, France, you know. But I think France has something to do with everything, even La La Land, right? Her she goes to France. And then the second thing is I believe every movie are about lovers who cannot get together.
Yeah.
I mean, even your version of Little Shop of Horrors, she gets eaten and killed by Audrey too.
By the way, every movie was nominated for an Oscar, even
Oh,
Little
well,
Shop.
there's the third one.
Yeah. And your Paris, France thing, that's something we talked about off the pod.
But I mean, come on though. What is it about musicals where like the line theme is like impossible love?
Well, I mean, you could have like Amelia Perez where that is not the theme. The theme is quite different in that one than when we talked about that a little bit.
I'm not counting Amelia. It's not showing up in the title of the pod.
I think it's just a good thing to sing about. It's like it's important, but it's not necessarily life or death. I think it's good stakes. So
But
that's to me
none of
why it
them have
makes
a
sense.
happy ending. None of them have a happy ending, which I find really funny.
Your version of Little Shop did.
But that's it. Like even your version of Little Shop didn't. Once didn't. And I'm guessing
In our current world order, I think that version, my version of Little Shop, is honestly preferable than maybe what's going on right now.
well, that's true too. And I'm also speculating that Les Mis doesn't end favorably for anyone. So,
Oh well, you're wrong then.
oh, okay. Well, maybe that's true. And then just newsflash, not to ruin Rent for you, but things don't work out exactly perfect in the end of Rent too.
I heard it involves AIDS, so yeah, I was assuming.
Well, even this one, I mean, she dies of AIDS.
Who?
Nicole Kidman.
She didn't die of AIDS.
What'd she die of?
Consumption.
Of a bunch of dicks.
Damn it, you motherfucker! I wrote that joke down. You son of a bitch!
I lined it up and set it up. Woo! That was good.
I'm so fucking annoyed. Apparently, it was actually pulmonary tuberculosis, which I have no idea what that means. But you know, whatever. You stole my fucking.
Tuberculosis of the
I was
heart.
literally gonna say, would she consume? And you've ruined it. I've been hoisted on my own sitar. So let's just, I think, skip to when he goes to the Moulin Rouge for the first
Yep.
time. Bunch of good singing. We get the teen spirit. We also get the Moulin Rouge song, Lady Marmalade, which you, like, I guess, forgot about. And that was a huge cultural moment
Well,
in the
there's
zeitgeist,
that's true, but it's not original. That song isn't original to this movie.
which is why it wasn't nominated. And so no song was nominated from this movie because
Except, well, there is one original song in this movie.
come what may,
Come what may.
except it's not because it was originally written for Romeo and Juliet.
Made it into the final cut of Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, but therefore it was not original to this movie, and so it did not qualify for best song.
They can't count it?
It didn't. The Oscars is fucking wheeling and dealing with their own rules here, okay? Yeah, so
That's
they just
true.
decided that was not. Also, I feel like the Lady Marmalade version for this movie is quite a bit different. I feel like that should have counted too.
Well, it's mashed up with Teen Spirit.
No, well, yeah, but not in the music video, you know.
Oh. Hmm.
So this movie is completely frantic, and then Nicole Kidman makes her appearance, and everything like slows down, which is really, I think, a cool like feature of this.
I love the scene where she's dancing with Zidler and she's like, "Where's the Duke?" And he's like, "He's the one shaking the napkin at the little dwarf." And then it's him, right, doing it to
Yeah.
Toulouse, and then she turns to look, and it's Ewan McGregor doing it, and so that's where like the case of the mistaken identity comes into play, which I thought was so fun. Like I'm like every time I watch this movie, I'm just like, how does he end up there going so far into the pitch? I was like, oh yeah, it's the whole mistaken identity thing.
So then she faints, and when you think back to the opening when he's like, "Oh, like Satine has died" or whatever, so you know Satine dies. Then when you see her faint, I was like, "Oh, so she's sick. So she's not going to die. She's going to die from whatever this is."
As many
Sort of.
times as I've seen this movie, I always forget how she dies, and at the end where like the gun is being tossed around, I'm like, oh, does she accidentally get shot?
No, she died of too many dicks. Brought it back. All right.
Hmm.
So
Mm-mm.
next, they meet on the elephant, and she's like, "You're the Duke." There's a little back and forth. Like this is like classic, like old school comedy of like both of them don't know. They think they're like, he thinks she knows that he's the playwright, and she thinks he's the Duke.
Right.
So they're talking sort of past each other, and then finally realizes, oh, this is not the guy.
In the midst of all that, I do like him being like, wow, she's really turned on by my poetry.
Well, yeah, she's like, oh, "You can stand, but it's quite long. It's modern, but you might enjoy it." And then he's like, "I'm a bit nervous." And then he breaks into your song, which I enjoyed, but I'm also like, no one's going to sing that as good as Elton John. So it's a little bit,
I like it. I like all the songs in this. I think they're just like, I don't know. This movie puts me in a good mood because I think it's not the best movie, and it's definitely not the best Baz Luhrmann movie, but I feel like it's one of the more fun movies he's done.
What is the best Baz Luhrmann movie?
Australia.
I don't think a single person would agree with that.
How? Australia's an amazing movie. Am I remembering it wrong?
No, I love Australia. So
You think
Romeo and
people are gonna see
Juliet.
The Great Gatsby?
I don't know that people liked that. The Great
Hmm.
Gatsby has a 7.2 on IMDb. Elvis has a 7.3, so yeah, fuck that. People just don't know what they're talking about. Australia's a 6.6, Moulin Rouge 7.6, Romeo and Juliet 6.7. I think Moulin Rouge is probably his most heralded movie.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But
Now,
I like
Moulin
it.
Rouge, I mean, Elvis had a ton of nominations. And the thing about Elvis is Tom Hanks is what a lot of people hated in that movie. And I did not have a problem with Tom Hanks in the movie. I just like seeing Elvis get shit on for 2.5 hours or whatever that was just not like enjoyable in the slightest.
Right.
It made it look like he had the worst life of anyone to ever live. Like, he
Right.
never had good
But that's
days.
the point of the movie, though, right? Like that was the point of the
Well,
movie
I don't
for
like
you.
it. I don't
Okay.
like it.
Okay.
I don't wanna like it.
So you're saying like the second best rated Baz Luhrmann movie is still a whole point two ahead, or Moulin Rouge is a whole point ahead of it.
Moulin Rouge is 7 point I mean, this is just IMDb ratings. You'd have to look at a bunch of different ratings, but yeah, it's point 0.3 ahead of it, 7.6 to 7.3. And
Okay.
then Great Gatsby is 7.2, so pretty close to Elvis, and I think there's probably a good amount of nominations for that. The the world building that Baz does in this, like, I can't even I'm still trying to wrap my head around, is that like a fake Eiffel Tower that's inside the Moulin Rouge? Is the
No.
elephant inside the Moulin Rouge? Like,
Okay. So the elephant is like part of the Moulin Rouge. It's like an
but it
extension room.
but it goes outside,
But
right?
it goes outside, yeah. And then where they live is like the building across the road to it. But what I love about this movie is that the Eiffel Tower, which okay, if you've ever been to France,
I
the
have.
the market where this whole thing is setting, Marmont, is like quite a few miles away from the Eiffel Tower. But the
Yes.
way I love all this is laid out, it's laid out like a stage play. Like it looks like cardboard cutouts how you would find it in a theatrical play.
Doesn't At the end of the movie, doesn't the gun get hit away and
Goes
hits
out the window with the Moulin Rouge, clears across Paris, and
and
hits
hits off
the
the Eiffel Tower? Yeah.
tower. Yeah.
Well, and I do like that. What is it when he starts singing your song that all of Paris lights up?
Yeah.
So, which is cool, but I was also like, is that inside the moon? Like the
No.
yeah, no, I now figured it out, so we're good. And then the Duke shows up, and they have this whole like trying to distract him thing going on. The Duke leaves, and then he comes back, and he's on top of her, and they're like, "Oh, we're rehearsing a play." And then the song "Spectacular, Spectacular" that they break into is great. And I think that kind of sounds original, but I guess maybe it's not. If Coming Away is the only original, I don't know where this other one comes from.
I think
'Cau-
the beat is a song. I can't remember it right now.
Well, no, it is. Yeah, I guess you're right. That's like the it's like the I don't know, like
Isn't it
1812
Can You Do
overture.
the Can? Can you do the can?
I think it was like the 1812 overture or something like that.
Well, maybe that's true too.
Who knows? If I pulled that out of my ass right now, that'd be pretty impressive. So, but they convince him like, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do," and he agrees. And then everyone leaves, and then they have this like look. They're looking across from her elephant, and he's looking across at her, and they're like, "I wonder if she's thinking about me." And then he goes over to her, and he does this like medley of love songs, and the whole time I'm like, how much did this cost? Because
Oh, right.
so
Uh,
he did, and by the way, this whole character is like obsessed with love. He's never been in love. He only knows love from like literature and his anachronistic knowing of songs that didn't exist. But this movie does All You Need Is Love by the Beatles, I Was Made for Loving You, Kiss, One More Night by Phil Collins, Pride by U2, Don't Leave Me This Way by Thelma Houston, Silly Love Songs, Paul McCartney, Up Where We Belong, Joe Cocker, Jennifer Warnes, Heroes by David Bowie, the third movie we've done with the song Heroes, and then I Will Always Love You, Dolly Parton, and then your song again, Elton John. Just
yep.
crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
How much
By
did that
the
cost?
by the way, Spectacular is the music is the can. I was right.
I feel like it might be yeah. Well, maybe not. So he does all that, and then she's like, I'm in love with you. And she says, I can tell you're going to be bad for business. This movie does a ton of foreshadowing because the whole play, this Maharaja play, is like foreshadowing the end of this movie too. Like who does she end up with? What choice does she make? So,
And
which is
what's so great is that when they change it at the end, it's their real life like pouring into the theater. But the whole audience of the Moulin Rouge is like totally eating it up. And one of my favorite lines is at the end where Zidler sees the confusion among everyone because it's Ewan McGregor now and it's not the narcoleptic guy, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, you shaved, but clearly you're the same guy. And you can hear everyone in the audience go, oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you for letting us know. Yeah, yeah. I actually really that is the part where that character kind of turns around for me, where he's just like, I don't know, just the quick thinking on his feet. I really liked.
Also, the straight sucker punch to the Duke's face was probably the wrap to his character
Yeah, that's the
development.
redemption right there for
Yeah.
sure.
I I love all of the singers and I what is the Moulin Rouge? It's like a burlesque thing, right? But like half of them are actual prostitutes.
I think back in the day, yeah, and then I think now,
Or now
uh,
it's just burlesque.
yeah. Ashley and I, our hotel was like right by the Moulin Rouge, and we just talked about it, and we just, yeah, like just decided not to do it. But yeah, I think now it's just more burlesque and probably like, I don't know. I don't even know if there's any actual nudity in it. I guess we should have checked it out. That was like
Mhm.
10 years ago at this
Yeah.
point.
The I guess I'm skipping a little ahead of myself talking about the ending here, but how all the people of the Moulin Rouge work together to try to save Christian into like kicking and throwing sandbags on the guy with the gun and everything. I thought like at the end of the play, they're all like a couple years later, they're like, "Hey, you remember we did that? Like we all quit being prostitutes and burlesque dancers and became actors for this theatrical play we hosted in Moulin Rouge, and then in the middle of the final act, we just stopped a murder." And they're like, "Yeah, that was cool."
It was good stuff. That part was like, once again, yeah, I think I read an interview where Baz was talking about, or a quote, just saying how he wanted to combine, he saw like an Indian play, and he said that those movies, those plays combine like comedy and drama elements, and that's kind of what he was going for in this movie. And that's like a super silly part in the middle of like a very dramatic, tragic end to that movie.
Well, especially like he's throwing money at her and being
Calling her
like
a whore.
calling her a whore and be like,
Why
"I'm
don't you let
come
me
here to."
pay you if you're such a whore?
Yeah. And then John Leguizamo's character Toulouse figures it out, and Toulouse is trying to get to Christian to explain it to him, but then it's comedic because he keeps tripping over the wires, he keeps getting lifted up into the stage, and then he's like he yells from the top of the rafters, and which sparks like the realization that they're actually in love with each other. So yeah, I think he did a good job with like the comedy elements, but not being so overtaken the drama and the tragedy of the whole thing.
So, I mean, a little bit of like plot points. The Duke, in order to give them the money, he holds all the deeds and he gets Satine. And then you just get a montage of like them sneaking around behind the Duke's back, but Zidler catches them. And it's like they are not careful at all.
They're almost kind of throwing it in
And they're
everyone's face.
very reckless. So, and then you have the like a virgin part, which you talked about, and it's Zidler's like, I keep trying to fuck this woman, or sorry, the Duke, like I keep trying to have sex with her, and it's not happening. And Zidler like has to lie to him, and then they find out Satine is dying, and he's like, she can't know because the show must go on. And you're like, oh, that's pretty selfish, but it's also like he staked all of this now. So like Satine dies, and they don't do this first show, then like everyone's on the street.
But like what's never really explained is that the Moulin Rouge is ruined now, right? Because if the Duke held the deeds and Zidler punched the Duke out, the Duke is just going to be like, "Fuck you, I own the Moulin Rouge now."
Yeah, but I think that first show, it like once this is my take on it, like once that first show does so well that they're now sort of like out of, like maybe not out of debt, but just like the money's going to be pouring into where they can, they will be fine.
How? They lost their main actress.
I mean, she's replaceable.
Wow. Wow. Can we talk about the absolute bitch, the
That's what
random the random bitch in the Moulin Rouge?
I wrote. Who's this bitch?
I mean, it's true. I think. I mean, what's her name? I'm looking at IMDb and I'm like, is it prostitute number two?
What's
There's
funny is they all have like names, and I'm just like, how is I? These names were never said.
no, they were never said. There's this girl called China Doll. I'm like, is that her?
Yeah, I don't know.
Marie? Oh, actually, I bet it's Marie. This looks like her. No, it doesn't. I don't know who it is,
It's not
but
important. But
it's
yeah,
not.
she just comes in as a plot point to, because they've come up with this song that they're going to sing, so they know that they still love each other, even though she has to like kind of maybe do this, you know, sleeping with the Duke thing. So, I mean, this happens several times, but she's basically, now realizes, oh, on opening night, I'm going to have to sleep with the Duke. And so they come up with this new song where the courtesan sings and they know they'll love each other no matter what. And then this bitch comes in and he's like, she can't sing that song, and he's gonna he has to end up with or she has to end up with the Maharaja.
No, but then she specifically is like, why would she end up with the lonely playwright and not the Monero? I mean, the sitar player. Whoops.
Yeah, no, she's a bitch just out
Yeah.
of nowhere.
But then
So
also how dense is the Duke for not seeing this the whole time?
true. And then she's like, I have to go up to have dinner with him, and he's like, don't sleep with him. But she's like, he will destroy us. I'm gonna sleep with him for us. And then when she goes up to the Duke, she's like, he's obsessed with me, but we need him. And then at the same time this is happening, get the Argentinian guy dancing as they're singing Roxanne. But then she can't go through with it. And I had to rewind it because I'm like, what happened here? And the black guy, who his name is, what is it? His name is Le Chocolat,
Yeah. Yeah.
stops a rape. Just a rape in the middle of this.
Right. I thought he killed the Duke for a second there, but he just
Yeah.
knocked him out.
He held back a little bit. He could have killed him. So
But are
then
we ever introduced to Le Chocolat like before at any point?
I think he's in the background. I think he's there. We see him in
Okay.
scenes.
I do like the Scar guy who works for the Duke, how he's hinted at throughout the film.
Never has a character been so like, oh, foreboding to just fucking shit the bed when he's finally like, do you think after this the Duke is like, all right, well, you're fired because clearly you're incapable of doing what I need?
One of the funniest moments is he gets caught center stage when he's trying to kill Christian and he starts dancing his way towards the gun.
Yeah, that was a little bit almost too like over the top comedy. So she's like, she escapes and she's like, we're gonna leave, and he's like, well, the Duke is gonna kill Christian. She's like, all right, well, we're still gonna leave, and then he's like, well, you're dying. I was like, why are you?
Zidler says this, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, why are you telling her she's dying? And it's because like you can't save him, and but you can save the Moulin Rouge. Like, I need you to do this one last time. And it is like, so I need you to do the show and fuck this guy before you die, please. That's
Yeah,
what I
I
need
mean
from
it's
you.
just yeah. Although here's what I don't get is that she's a prostitute, right? She's had sex with a lot of guys and now she's like, "Hey, I have standards because I met someone who I really like." And then he's like, "Hey, I don't think I can love you the same way if you go fuck the Duke," right? All those other guys in the past, I don't care. But the Duke, so repulsive, I don't think I could. And what I love about the Duke's character in this is that he is written and acted as the most horrible human being to ever live. And it just works so well because you're like, yeah, if I was a prostitute, I also would not want to sleep with him.
It's just a dork.
He's also a dork, but that's kind of great. That's a kind of a great thing is that he's this like he gives like really strong incel energy off, right?
Yeah, but I mean, Christian kind of gives that off at the end when he's like, "You never even loved me," and like throwing money at her and calling her a whore.
Yeah, but I guess it's one of those things where like Ewan McGregor is better looking than the other guy.
So he's, she tells him, "Hey, I have to go to the I'm choosing the Maharaja. I'm done with you." He like goes and starts screaming Satine in the rain, and then gets his ass beat. I mean, we've already talked about the ending of this quite a bit. That they're doing the play. Christian sneaks in, the guy's trying to shoot him, and then we sort of get this ending. The gun's getting kicked around, and I was like, oh, it finally gets knocked away from him, and then it lands right at the Duke's feet, and I was like, all right, well, that's a little bit too cute.
As the
And
Duke is walking away, he hears the gun land behind him. Oh my god.
but I also just this Duke's just gonna commit murder in front of like hundreds of people. He's just gonna kill somebody. Like there has to be some consequences to that, you would think. But
Well, first of all, I don't know what kind of power the Duke has in this day and age, right? But also the rest of the audience members they're just enjoying a play. They don't quite understand the underlying meaning of all the songs and what's happening with all the actors, right? Like they don't get the backstory like we do. So they're just basically witnessing a random audience member kill one of the stage actors. Yeah.
and I will say the ending really got me where she starts singing the song to him and he starts singing it back to her. That really works.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
she faints, she dies, and Finn, that's it.
Fiend, I do like how this is like a play within a play within a play. Like even at the beginning where you have the curtains draw back and the little composer guy bringing in the 20th Century Fox logo, and then the curtains fall down when the movie's done. It gives this real like theatrical feel, like you yourself, and the entire time Christian is like writing the story of what happened to him and Satine, and it's like you're witnessing a play about a play about a play. I just think that kind of inception is really cool. I want to talk about two things real quick that are not plot of the movie. One, I want to talk about the cinematography of this movie. How many French New Wave movies have you seen? Have you seen Amelie?
No.
Okay, so that was the only one I would think that you've seen. I don't think you've really seen any French New Wave movies, have you?
What is a French New Wave movie?
Like
Is there a time period?
the way that I categorize French New Wave movies, they're like shot on wide angles, and it's very like, especially all the bohemian stuff in the apartment. It's like crazy angles, and like the camera does these flips, and like you have like a character being evil, and then the room like turns green or red or something like that. So it's like a very experimental, artsy kind of portrayal of everyone's emotion kind of through the camera lens. It's just this very eccentric way of shooting. They categorize French New Waves as late 50s, early 60s French films.
So not Amelie.
Well, I would say Amelie is probably a little bit of a, like giving love to that era by
Paying
the way
homage.
paying
Mm.
homage by the way it's shot and everything. But that and the editing, I feel like they're trying to make it really feel like a French film while having no like French people working on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not big on the French New Wave. My French movies from the 50s and 60s is lacking severely. So this movie spent 45 weeks in theaters during its initial release, which is insane.
That is insane. That's 10 months, 11 months.
Nicole Kidman got hurt during this movie and therefore had to be replaced on the movie Panic Room because of the injuries. So Jodie Foster then
With
steps
Jodie
in.
Foster? Oh my
Yeah.
god, that's interesting.
No, with Kristen Stewart. She was going to play Jodie Foster's daughter.
Actually, I have another fact that you will not take away from me. The necklace that she wears in the
It was worth $1
movie.
million. It was real. Suck a dick, you consumption bitch.
So it was worth $1 million, but at that point, and I think it still is, it was custom made for the movie, and it's the most expensive piece of jewelry ever made custom made for a movie.
It's good stuff.
$1 million. Can you believe it's like, hey, what's your budget? Oh, my budget's $40 million for this movie. But $1 million has to go to just this one necklace that's shown twice in 15-second increments.
Well, but don't you buy the necklace and then you sell it and it's probably worth maybe a little bit more?
Because it's been on Nicole Kidman's neck.
because it's from the movie, right? Can't you sell it for 1.2?
Can you sell that? Like, I mean, can you
Who owns it? The studio owns
find
it.
a buyer? I guess I don't know.
There's rich people. So Heath Ledger lost the lead role when it was determined he was too young to be the romantic interest for Nicole Kidman. He was so angry at Baz Luhrmann that years later he refused to work with him on Australia. Australia came out in 2008. You know what else came out in 2008? The Dark Knight. That is a huge sliding doors moment if Heath Ledger ends up on Moulin Rouge and then Australia instead of The Dark Knight. Like, the implications of that are, kind of crazy.
It is kind of insane. Who do you think would have been replaceable to you? Like, do you imagine Ewan McGregor being like the perfect role? You can't replace him, but if you need
No,
someone younger,
Nicole.
replace Nicole Kidman.
No, you can't replace Nicole Kidman.
Okay, so you'd replace Ewan.
I think so. He's great in it. So here are the other options. So Catherine Zeta-Jones and Heath Ledger were contenders to play Satine and Christian. Other Christians include Hugh Jackman, would have been great. Jake Gyllenhaal would have been too young, I think, at that point. And Ronan Keating, who I'm not familiar with. And then Satine's, Kate Winslet would have been great. Hilary Swank, probably. Renee Zellweger, Drew Barrymore. And I don't recognize many of these other names. And then the Courtney Love thing I already said. This is
Right.
interesting. So John Leguizamo was originally considered for the Argentinian, and the part of Toulouse, Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean, and Alan Cumming were considered. Alan Cumming not being in this movie is actually kind of fucking weird.
Is he Australian?
Not everyone in the movie is Australian, but Alan Cumming is perfect for a part in this movie, so it's odd.
Okay, you're not wrong about that. Although you had me at Mr. Bean as Toulouse, like that would have been really good. Did you know?
Alan Cumming? I prefer Alan Cumming.
Well, did you know that John Leguizamo is not a dwarf?
This is the first I'm hearing about
I
that.
know. He basically had to break his legs.
Is Mr. Bean a dwarf?
No, well, no. But poor John had to basically break his legs to like hunch over as much as he did. What ethnicity is John Leguizamo? Because I know he's not Italian, and I know he's
Colombian.
not French, even though he's played French and Italian characters.
Pretty sure he's Colombian.
Ah,
He's
wide
what
range.
Hollywood would call ethnically ambiguous.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Well, I mean, I love this movie. I've seen it. I think the last time I saw it, I was probably in college, so it's been like 8 to 10 years. I've probably seen it between that time, but I remember we had like a watch party where like a bunch of people got in a dorm and we watched it. It was fun. But for me, the first hour back to back entertaining. The last hour kind of drags for me until we get to the end. But that's just because, I mean, how do you follow up Zidler and the Duke singing like a virgin? I don't know if you can. What did you think of the movie overall? Because I know musicals are a little hit and miss for you.
I think that the ending really brought it home for me. So up until that point, this is okay. And then the ending just really hit and made me like it quite a bit.
I think this is why we do this, because I don't think you normally would have given a movie like this a chance unless we're in this kind of setting.
That's why we do what we do.
And thanks for listening to another episode of I Finally Watched. I'm Alon.
And this is David, and today I finally watched Moulin Rouge.